And a good morning, Eagles fans. We appreciate you streaming in. Any day you're streaming the Birds 365, we appreciate it. But we especially appreciate it today. Today is, as per my count, and I guess there's a debate as to my count, as per the YouTube research that was done. I got us doing 739 things.
Now I got to look it up. But more importantly than the number is the year. Yeah, I think. But
yes, today is year 4, day 1 of year 4. The first Birds 365 episode aired on April 5th of 2001. Today is April 5th of 2021. Today is April 5th of 2024. So, yes, we have logged 3 full years. We are starting year 4 today with, as per my count, show number 739. In other words, we've been doing this for a while, okay?
YouTube has us at 749. 749.
Yeah, I think they made a mistake carrying the 1 when they were doing their edition. I'm at 739. I'm sticking by it.
You're sticking by you're battling head to head with a computer.
Yes, I have no problem whatsoever doing that. But you and I have been doing this for a lengthy period of time. It's fun each and every single morning. We appreciate those of you who join in, if not every single morning, most mornings. You could do us a solid. Come on the beginning of year 4, you could hit the like button for once. Another thing, I don't understand how they think we've done 749 shows when we've only done 739 shows. I don't understand the whole like thing. Get you credit for having people listen. So just, I'm told, hit the like button. That would help us. So I'm asking you to do it on our day 1 of year 4 here on Birds 365. And lo and behold, we've got actual Eagle news to talk about, Johnny Mac. Not long after you and I signed off yesterday morning, the Eagles came to an agreement with, I almost called him Elliot Maddox, former outfielder for the Yankees and the Mets. Damn good center fielder. One of the best defensive center fielders I've ever seen in my entire life. Avonte Maddox is back in the fold with the Philadelphia Eagles on a 1-year contract. Not surprising that he came back on only 1 year. The details have not yet surfaced. There's good speculation that it'll be significantly less than the almost $7 million he was scheduled to make if they had just honored the last year of his contract that he was released from. I think it's a pretty good bet that incentives will be included in this deal so that he can get back some of the money because his base salary is going to be significantly less. First things first, the return of Avonte Maddox. Good thing, bad thing, mediocre thing, what the hell are they thinking thing? What's your evaluation?
No, I think it's a good thing. I've been talking about it for a while now since it became clear the market's not there for Avonte Maddox. So he's going to have to prove himself because of the recent injury issues. He wasn't getting a big deal anywhere, multi-year deal. And why not run it back here where he's comfortable? He's got his best friend, he's Dallas Goedert. He's very successful. The Eagles have always valued him as a player, but he's had trouble staying on the field. So you roll the dice, and if he stays healthy, you got a damn good slot corner, and we can stop talking about slot corner. And if he doesn't stay healthy, you have better contingencies set up behind him. So I think the Eagles learn from the disaster. I tried to cobble together all the players that they used to replace Avonte Maddox, and I know I'm missing one. But, Mario Goodrich, he got hurt in week 2. Mario Goodrich went in. Then it was James Bradbury, which was a big mistake. Then it was Bradley Roby. They brought back Josiah Scott. They tried Slay in there for moments of certain games, particularly the Rams and the Cowboys when they were trying to close out games. Sidney Brown, moving him from safety to a big nickel sort of look in the slot. Eli Ricks, who's a pure outside corner at 6'2". They tried him, and none of it worked, with the exception of a little bit of Slay.
Did Mekhi Gardner get any slot corner time this year?
No, but I do think I'm missing somebody, and I'll try to I meant to look at that yesterday and look at the PFF numbers, but
Might have been our guy Zach Mack if he had played any games.
oh yeah, well yeah,
That
that's who I'm. Thank you, Jody. And that was predating Avonte Maddox, but he was the
right.
eighth player because I had 8 in my mind because I was always using 8, and he obviously got hurt in the preseason, so he
Right.
got
He
hurt
never
before
even got a
Avonte.
chance.
There were so many bodies they tried, and it just didn't work. And now they at least have the kid they signed from Las Vegas, Tyler Hall. They have Isaiah Rogers, if he ever comes back from his gambling suspension. We'll probably know that by April 15th. If that doesn't happen by April 15th, I would say maybe something's going on. And maybe it's something to be more concerned about. And then it doesn't prevent you. We've talked to a bunch of draft guys this week, and, it's a very deep corner class when it comes to slot guys later. Obviously, you're not going to draft a slot guy at the top, but as you get later, there's a lot of good options for young players, and it doesn't prevent them from taking a player like that. But if he stays healthy, lightning strikes. It's a good player. It's a good player.
A couple things. What's the significance of April 15th with Rogers, other than I have to do my taxes by April 15th? Why do we
Yeah,
circle
bad
that date
day.
on the calendar?
That's the start of off-season work. So
Okay.
I would, phase one. It's just strength and conditioning and stuff like that. You can't do any on-field work, but I would think the NFL would, want to let the Eagles know by the start of off-season work. And that's just, they don't have to, but that's just a guess. They can do whatever the hell they want. But I think if you look at some of the um, previous examples of guys that were suspended, they basically let the teams know that they're going to be back before the start of off-season work.
That's one thing we need to take a look on. I got another procedural question for you today, because when I heard Maddox signed, I wondered how much of a haircut he had to take from I think it was 6.8 and change he was supposed to make this year. And the base salary is going to be less, but I think speculation that he'll have an incentive-laden deal only makes sense. And that's the kind of thing that shouldn't, I use the word shouldn't because I'm not sure, count against the Eagles cap. Because what I do know is that you can put incentives into a cap, but if they're easily achievable incentives, you put them into a contract that are easily achievable, they're going to count against the cap. That if you say, oh, if he rushes for 200 yards and he's a 1,400-yard rusher, you don't get to save by just putting it in as an incentive and put off the cap costs down the road. If they have to be non-easily achieved incentives, and you can do that with Maddox, and you can do it about games played because he hasn't played enough games. He's missed too many games. So that would be the smartest and the easiest way to get it done. He's got an availability bonus in his contract. If he's dressed for a game, he plays a game, he's not hurt for a game, he's going to get bonuses. What that number is and how much they could put in it is where the debate comes in. Does the NFL have one guy who's in charge of that? How he's having a negotiation with Avonte's agent. They want to come up with the number that the Eagles can live with, that Avonte can accept, and they want to know how much it's going to cost against the cap. Is there a clearinghouse that Howie has to call the NFL?
That's a Brad Spielberger question, Mr. Director of Football Administration, but we can't talk to Brad. I'll text Brad, but yeah, I mean, no, it's not one person. It's certainly not one person because that's a big job, and that's a complicated job. But yeah, how you kind of described it is right. If it's labeled as likely to be gained incentive, it counts against the cap. If it's not, it doesn't. And that is a very nebulous paragraph, or so somebody's got to make that decision.
Right, somebody's got to say whether it is
And
or it does or doesn't count.
And it's certainly going to be one of the lawyers and bookkeepers and accountants of the NFL. And yeah, that's not one guy. That's got, because all these teams do this, and they all try to get stuff underneath the wire, so to speak. So um, yeah, I mean, it generally has to do with their history and what they've done, and but it's hard to put an exact definition on an easily gained incentive versus one that isn't. Um, so that's too deep in the weeds even for me.
Okay, just thought you may know. Thought you might have a name. If you tell me that it's a cast of thousands at 345 Park Avenue up there in New York, I'll take your word for it. But I would
I
think
was a
that
cast of dozens, not
okay,
thousands.
dozens, not thousands. All
Yeah.
right, thanks for at least cutting it down for me. And is Jake Rosenberg still making that call this week for the Eagles? Because his contract runs till after the draft, correct?
Yeah, I assume Jake's business as usual till after the draft, and but they're certainly getting Bryce Johnston ready, Anna Berry. Those are the two that are probably going to sort of be the main replacements of what Jake did, and they're certainly sitting in and learning on the job, so to speak. And yeah, like I said when we talked about Jake before, I don't get this notion in sports. It happens all the time. I mean, people leave jobs and they act professional on the way out the door. I don't think there's any question, because he wants to be a GM in this league. So if word gets out he's not being professional out the door, you're not going to be a GM in this league. So I'm sure he's stewarding it, continuing and helping the people that are going to replace it.
And hopefully we find out exactly what the numbers are. I don't think it's going to be earth-shattering, move the needle type numbers. It'll be a relatively low base salary and then some incentives in there. And we'll find out whether the incentives do or don't cost against the cap. That has not been stated as of yet. So that was early yesterday. And then later on during the day, we find out the Eagles have once again invested in their offensive line. That is surely not a shocker. They extended Landon Dickerson earlier this offseason, and now they have added more very well paid, very well earned years to Jordan Mailata's contract, which is going to take him all the way through the 2027 season at 22 million
2028. 2028.
through 2027,
Yeah.
up
No,
to
I
2028.
I think he's 2028. I'll double
Okay.
check.
I
I think they have Landon and Jordan both locked up through 2028, which is another bad indication for our buddy Bob Groats. Yeah, they want to keep that left side together.
That's what you made of that, John. They want to keep the left side together by extending both the tackle and the guard. Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
And making Landon the highest paid guard, at least average annual value rise. Jordan Mailata is such a nice guy, man. It's unbelievable. Like I know people are going to look at this contract and go, "Wow, he's underpaid." He's underpaid, and he gave a big break to the Eagles with this contract. It's basically fourth, I think, in the pecking order, and he did it early, obviously. And if he would have waited with the guy, he would have made much more.
Right, but there's an advantage of doing it early. You got $20 million yesterday. You get a nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he went. I know he went to Italy, so he had to pay that off, I assume. So yeah, I think the Italy trip is paid for. Yeah, unbelievable. He's gotten so good. I think people kind of have not forgotten, not everyone, but man, this is crazy where he came from to being one of the best left tackles in football with a second $60 million extension, 60 million plus. Just unbelievable.
And he's probably the most famous graduate of Stoutland University, since he's the one who actually coined it. He could basically wear the championship belt. There are other very great offensive line stories who have gotten the tutelage of Mr. Stoutland, Coach Stoutland, but I would argue that the most famous graduate of Stoutland University.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We're going to have Damo on, our usual Friday guest, in a couple minutes, and it always stuck in my mind. And I told this story before when the Alliance of American Football, that great spring league, and was going on. They were trying to maneuver to become an official developmental league of the NFL, which was never going to happen. But Charlie Ebersol was running the league. I talk about it's kind of a con man, but and I remember Damo was the one who asked Jeff Stoutland the question at the time: would you send Jordan Mailata, because Jordan was still a very raw, very not playing, just stashed on the back of the roster. Would you send him to the AAF to play? And Stoutland was like, I don't want anybody touching this guy. I don't want anybody else messing up. So I think it's interesting. This is the time of year where you hear, oh, this guy's raw. This guy's raw. Oh, you don't know what raw is. I mean, to say somebody can't develop after playing, think about Davion Taylor. He's raw. Ben Van Sumeren now, he's raw. Oh, they ain't raw. I mean, this guy needed help putting on his helmet, and he's one of the best left tackles in football. God, it's rare. It is rare.
Yeah, sometimes you can take the raw out of raw, and sometimes a guy never gets past raw. That means he's athletic, but he doesn't have the football skills. The football skills were in Jordan Mailata. They just had to be taught and brought out of. And surely the Philadelphia Eagles have done that. And Mailata has gotten what he richly deserves because he's become as good a left tackle as he is. He's Mac on Mac. Mac and Mac, year 4 of Birds 365, show number 1. I got that right, Mr. Computer? This is show 1 of year 4.
Show 1 of year 4. That part, yes, we agree. Hey, it's not me. It's you to blame YouTube. They're the ones
on that. I wasn't blaming you. I was talking directly to Mr. YouTube. Yeah. That I'm positive of, and I'm pretty damn sure we're at show 379. For the, I'd say 100th time, somewhere thereabouts, Paul Domwich is going to join us, one of our loyal contributors here on Birds 365, as well for JAKIBSports.com. You can get them at the 3013.com as well. You're getting them next. Paul Domwich here with us on Birds 365.